Hello, everyone. Good morning to you. And I'm so excited to welcome you to another exciting edition of the Forex Morning Mastery with Sheriff Daramola. It has been quite an interesting 24 hours as we saw how the dollar has struggled amongst its major currency pairs. And this is as a result of some of the uncertainty in the market as participants in the market are looking forward to the key inflation data which is coming up tomorrow. So it's going to be a very busy Wednesday, and in fact the market is going to be anticipating this day big time even today. So today's trading session we are going to be diving into the current market structure, looking at things from a comprehensive price action based technical analysis to identify potential trading opportunities that we can take advantage of today. So I want us to fasten our seatbelts and get ready for another exciting and also insightful edition of the Forex Morning Mastery. And for those who are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome on board. And what we simply do here is to come together as a community gathering in anticipation of both the London and the New York sessions. So during this time, what we do is review and manage our current positions, while we also aim to position ourselves strategically ahead of both trading session. And we focus mainly on the 1 hour time frame here on the Forex Morning Mastery. And though we've done a top-down analysis of these currency pairs during the course of the weekend. So if you are not watched that video, I implore that you watch this video, as it will give you a background knowledge of how we got to the current market structure you are seeing on the 1 hour time frame. And it will also help you to be able to make an independent decision based on the information you have gathered in that video. So the links to the videos are right in the description box of this current video you are watching, so try to get to it. Watch it after the session so that you can have a better understanding of where we are coming from and how we got to this point. And the videos are duly timestamped, so you can easily navigate to whichever aspect of the video is of your interest. So with that being said here, and welcome once again. So we shall be diving right into the business for today. And before we go into the details for today, you know how we do it. The first thing we are going to be doing here is to check on the economic calendar, as we all know that these fundamental factors often manifest on the charts in technical patterns and price movement. And by monitoring the economic calendar, we can easily identify potential correlations between key economic releases and, of course, specific technical patterns. And this information gathered here and timing also will help us to be able to position ourselves in such a way that we can catch any potential trading opportunity prior or during or even after this event. So before we kickstart the session, before we go right into the economic calendar, I would like you to give me a feedback as regards to the audio-visual quality at this point in time. So I want to know if the sound quality is quite good, there are no distortion whatsoever, and if the videos is not freezing. I've done quite a lot of work to ensure that the experience we have here is of top notch. So I'll really appreciate some feedback in the comment section to know if things are actually working fine. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the business. So the first thing we are going to be doing here is to go into the economic calendar, and you know how we do it. We focus on high impact event coming from economies that will be affecting the currency pairs that we are looking at. And the economies are the UK economy, the US economy, and of course the Japanese economy. So for today, July 11th, we have the claimant count change coming in from the UK's economic docket. And in fact, this data came in about 2 hours ago, I think. And one important thing about the claimant count is that it presents the number of unemployed people in the United Kingdom. And this is a very important labor indicator in this economy. A rise in this indicator has negative implications for consumer spending, which discourages economic growth. So what this simply means here is that a high reading is seen as negative, while a low reading is seen as something positive for the pound sterling. And if we look at what we have here, the data came in at a very high reading, showing us that there has been a contraction in the labor market of the United Kingdom. And then we also had the higher low unemployment change, which is the number of unemployed workers divided by the total civilian labor force. So it's a leading indicator of the UK economy too as well. And if the rate is up, it indicates a lack of expansion within the United Kingdom's labor market. And if we look at the data here, we had a 4% actual data as against the consensus projection of 3.8%, giving us a deviation of 1.71. This is a very high data. It's also something negative for the pound sterling. So let's look at how we are going to be looking at how the market has reacted to this event and how we are also going to be positioning ourselves in such a way that we can catch any potential move in that particular market. And besides the two high impact event coming in from the United Kingdom's economy, we do not have any other high impact event. So we are going to be diving right into the chart to look at things from a comprehensive price action based technical analysis to identify what is really going on in the market, and also look at how the market is anticipating the busy Wednesday, which features high impact event from the US economy, which is going to be telling us details into the health situation of the inflation situation of the US economy. So with that being said, let's dive right into the chat. So I can see some comments in the chat box. Thank you very much. Jay Gale, good morning to you. Trust you are doing very well. Thank you for that feedback. Richard Blackett, good morning to you, and thank you for that feedback. So I'm very glad that what I did behind the scenes was actually working. So let's hope that this will remain the same throughout the end of the session. But if there is any issues, please feel free to let me know in the comment section as I try to make things better for us all out here. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the chart. And the first financial instrument we are going to be taking this morning, as usual, we all know what we look out for. The first one is going to be the USOilSPOT. Now, on the USOilSPOT, it was for me, it was a very stressful day, and we had a couple of losses yesterday as we took some positions which went into stop losses. We had a buy, we also had a sell, and both positions went into a loss. So it wasn't a very good start to the week for us on the USOilSPOT, but the week is still very, very early, so we don't need to lose hope as the market is still trying to evolve and mature into something that I know we are going to be taking advantage of as the week goes on. And one thing for sure we realize is that whenever the consolidation phase in the oil market increases like this, especially at the beginning of the week, there is a high tendency that the move that will break out of the structure is going to be very massive. And what we want to be doing here is to ensure that we be on standby to capture that move early enough when it happens. So let's dive right into the current market structure to see what has really been going on since the beginning of the week. Now, right here on the 1 hour time frame, the first thing we want to see here is our key level, which we identified in the video on the USOilSPOT during the course of the weekend, which is situated along the $72.50 level. And in fact, from the video, we deliberated on how this is the first time price action will break out of this level to the upside in the last couple of months. And with this fit here, we felt that price action may likely be going to the upside. And coupled with the fact that we have fundamental factors, especially after the OPEC Plus decision seminar that came in on the 5th and 6th of last week, we got highlights that there is more cut in oil production, which has been initiated. So we have now a total of 5 million barrels per day, I think, with a total global demand of 5%, which is a whooping figure, a staggering figure there. And this is as an intention of trying to artificially increase the demand of oil, especially during the summer season where traveling is the order of the day. And we are of the opinion that because of this announcement, there is a sentiment that could ripple across the market to support a bullish move. And with the situation here that price still remains above the key level, we also identified a range between the $73.30 level and of course the $73.20 area, giving us a flat channel to work with. Of course, you know how we do it in this community. Whenever we have flat channels like this, we want to wait for price action to either break out of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or break down the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. And this would lead into situations where we had buys and sells which went into stop losses yesterday. But one thing you will notice right now is that the range has gradually expanded further into that resistant level now at the $74 level, and of course expanded lower as we have the $73 area now serving as the support line for the week. Now we have a very wide range which we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for today. And now with this kind of range we have here, it is quite reasonable for us to remain patient, to wait for signals to happen. Signals like either a breakout of the resistant line, the new resistant line now at the $74 area, to be considering buying the US oil, or the breakdown of the support line at the $73 area to guide the idea of selling. Now, with the situation we have here, if you look at the structure closely, let me zoom things in a little bit so that we can see things clearly. One thing you will observe here is that all attempt by the sellers to break through the $73 zone has been met with strong resistance from the buyers, giving us sharp rejections of that zone. And I'm of the opinion that this might likely be a platform for a bullish momentum. So we are going to be having these levels labeled as our temporary demand zone for today. So let's label it temporary. So we have a temporary demand zone figured out. So we place this right inside the box, and then we have this darker. All right, so we have a temporary demand zone now. Look at what has been going on here since the beginning of the week. Look at, we saw a sharp rejection by the buyers. We saw how sellers tried to break through yesterday. We saw sharp rejection leading into the stop loss we had yesterday. And then we saw another sharp rejection of the structure here once again. And for me, this is a clear sign that buyers are gradually gaining momentum. But the fact that price action still remains below the $74 area requires a whole lot of patience, as we can see how sellers have been negating the bullish attempt here. And for me to be buying here, it is quite reasonable that we wait for price action to significantly break out of that resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy here. But one thing I'm thinking of at this point in time is to see if we can actually maximize the potential of this move by joining the buy position even before the breakout of the $74 level happens. And the only way we can do that is to use our trend lines at this current point. Now, if we look at what has been going on here since yesterday, the later part of the New York session, we notice how price action has been finding higher lows here. And whenever we find higher lows on a current market structure, we want to be having an idea that buyers are gradually gaining momentum. And when this is identified, the next thing we want to be doing is to connect a series of higher lows to give us a trend line to work with. And if we do that correctly, we should be having something like this that we are going to be using to guide trading activity for today and probably for the rest half of the week. Now, with our ascending trend line marked out, so we want to do some adjustment to capture some of the wicks of this low. So now our center of focus is around this area now. So as long as price action remains above this ascending trend line, we shall feel comfortable in any buy position we are in, and of course look out for more opportunities to buy. Now price action is trading above the trend line and currently trading along the first resistance line we identified at the beginning of the week, as you can see here. So what we are going to be looking out for at this point is a breakout and retest of structure to actually join even before the breakout of the $74 level happened. So to give a visual representation of what I'm talking about here, so I want to see something like this, a breakout of structure. I want to see price action come back to retest the structure or even come to as far as the ascending trend line, followed by the appearance of buy pressure on our lower time frame before we want to be joining that bullish move to the upside. And in fact, if we have something like this on our lower time frame, a retest of structure with buy pressure, we join, we are going to be having a buy stop order sitting above the $74 area to join that bullish move to the upside. So this is the only way I'm going to be looking out for buying opportunity on the US All Spot for today. And in fact, we need to be very, very careful. This market has been very choppy and very indecisive since the beginning of the week, as participants are still looking forward to the inflation data coming up tomorrow. So even if we don't see a retest of structure and price action goes to the upside, it's okay. Let's allow the trade to pass, as we don't want to jump into or risk unnecessary of our position on this current trade. So that is how I'm going to be looking out for buying opportunity on this one. So let's mark these levels out. The $73.60 level, very important, and of course the ascending trend line. Now, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunity in this market, you know how we do it in this community. We always ensure that we keep tabs with the opposite direction too as well. We want to be as dynamic and fluid as possible, as the market might change at any point in time. And if it does change, we want to be on standby to catch that opportunity. Now, if we consider the continued selling pressure around that $74 area and of course the $73.80 zone, we should not ignore the potentials of sellers. Sellers do have a say in this market, and the only thing that will make me consider selling the US All Spot today is for price action to drop, slice through that ascending trend line we just identified here before I can start considering selling. Please note that word, considering selling, not selling outrightly. And even if a breakdown of that structure happens, we are not going to be getting too excited, as we'll still need some confirmations to happen before joining any bearish momentum at this point. And if the breakdown happens, the next thing we are going to be doing is to scale down into a much more lower time frame. It could be your 5 minutes, 10 or even 15 minutes time frame, to look out for confirmations that buyers are struggling to climb back above that $73.60 level. And this would reflect on the chart as price coming back to retest either the trend line or the $73.60 area, where continued selling pressure will give us an opportunity to join the bearish move to the downside. Then we could now maximize the potential of the move by adding more positions at the breakdown of the structures that you can see on your chart right now. So that is the only way we shall be considering selling the US All Spot today. But trust me, I'm going to be with you in the comment section of both my TradingView and Telegram platform to give you updates on what I think will happen when the market starts evolving into a very interesting setup to take advantage of. So if you have any questions whatsoever as regards to what I've just explained, or you need me to do a clarification, feel free to let me know in the comment section, and trust me, I am here and willing to be of help in that regard. So if you have any questions, let me know. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the comment section and see if there are any questions, and also give you the time to be able to mark out those levels on your chart or screenshot my screen if you want to, as you will be needing them to as a reference point to guide your own trading activity for today. So let's see if there are any questions, please. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we're on the same page here. So we shall be moving on to the next instrument on our watch list. All right, so the next instrument on our watch list is the pound sterling, the GBPUSD, and in fact, we have been profitable on this commodity since the beginning of this week. And in fact, we actually started on a very strong bearish note, which we also took advantage of before we begin to see this bullish momentum that resumed yesterday. So before we go into the details of what we are looking at today, let's first of all run through the commentaries that I shared this morning on the GBPUSD before we go into the live chat and talk about what our plans are for today. So on the GBPUSD, if you are on my TradingView and Telegram platform, you would have gotten this update, so it's not going to be new to you. So let's look at what I said here this morning as regards to our plans. So I said here at the moment we have 3 buy positions that are yielding profits of approximately 130 pips, despite the negative economic indicator from the UK. It is now crucial to secure these buy positions while remaining vigilant for additional buy opportunities in case the price breaks the newly identified levels on the chart. So now let's go into the live chat and see what we are talking about here. So during our live session yesterday, remember that we acknowledged a range initially where price action was caught within that 1.28420 and the 1.28200 area to give us a flat channel to work with. And one of the things we said here yesterday is that a breakdown, I think a breakdown already happened, and I told us all that we are going to be looking forward to price action retesting the structure to incite a trend continuation to the downside, if you remember vividly. Then in addition to that structure, we also acknowledged a descending trend line after connecting the series of lower highs. And what we simply said here yesterday is that we are going to be using this trend line to guide our trading activity for the later part of the week. And what we said is that if price action remains below the trend line, we shall feel comfortable in our sell positions while we also look out for more opportunities to sell. But if price action breaks out of that trend line, then at that point, we shall start considering buying the GBPUSD. So that was our agreement here yesterday. Now, if you look at the structure here, we had the retest of structure which triggered our first sell position for the week. And remember, we also added another position at the breakdown of the 1.2800 area as we saw price action move on the first position moved about 70 pips in our favor, while the second position moved about 50 pips in our favor, giving us a total of 120 pips. And I do hope that you moved your stop losses accordingly as soon as price action moved significantly well in our favor. That's how we do here. When price action moves significantly well, we move our stop losses to secure the position. And if you had done that, you would have been taken out with a modest size of profit, or at a worst case scenario, break even. And what we saw here yesterday was quite interesting following the bearish momentum. Remember, we also acknowledged the 1.275, and I told us all that as soon as price tests this level, we move our stop losses to secure positions while we wait and see how price action will be reacting to that level to determine if we are going to be adding more sell position, and that is if a breakdown of that structure happens, or buying if we start seeing reversal pattern. But the market did not give us time to anticipate the buy momentum. As you saw here, immediately price got into that level, we saw a huge engulfing candle bringing us out of that area. So there was no time to join that bullish move, and in fact I was still doubtful of this whole bullish move to the upside, as I was thinking it could be a retracement of that bearish leg where price could come back into the trend line to incite a trend continuation to the downside. So as a result of that one, I wasn't advising us to buy at that point. But as soon as we had the breakout of the 1.282 retest of structure on our lower time frame, that incited the idea of buying above the 1.282. And remember, we already had a buy stop order there. Price action triggered. Then we had a price move to the upside, breaking out structures like the 1.28420, which was part of the levels we said we are going to be using to maximize the bullish move. And if price action finally breaks out of that key level, we're going to be adding more position to our existing trade. So it has been quite a very profitable 24 hours for us on the GBP USD at this point. Now, for those who are taking advantage of this buy position, well done to you for being on standby to have caught this move. And you all know what we're going to be doing next right now is to ensure that we secure this current position by moving all our stop losses to an area to protect this position. So now that we have, I think we have roughly about, let me see how many pips in profit right now. For the first position, we have about 70 pips. From here, we have about 50 pips. And from the key level, we have about, let's see, about 41 pips in profit. So close to about 150 to 160 pips in profit at this point. So the next thing we are going to be doing now is to move all stop losses, and let's choose an area that will help us give room for price action to breathe. So I'm suggesting anywhere below the 1.28700 area into that area around the 1.28560 to secure this current buy position. So let's move our stop losses as we begin to see some selling pressure resume within the 1.29150 and the 1.28950. So now with our positions well secured at this point, what is going to be our next line of action for today? Well, the first thing I would like to acknowledge here is the bullish momentum we have been witnessing since yesterday. And to do that, we want to connect the series of higher lows we can identify here. So this is what I'm going to be doing here. So I'm going to be using this trend line to guide our trading activity for today. So let's mark this out appropriately, bring out our candle chart and see if there are any adjustment needed. I want to give this a different color. Let's give it like a blue color to make it more bullish, have a bullish look. Okay. So here we are now. So this is where our center of focus is going to be. So this ascending trend line we just identified here is going to be our yardstick that we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for today. And what this simply means is that as long as price action remains above this trend line, we shall feel comfortable buying the GBPUSD and of course look out for more opportunities to maximize this move to the upside. Now, in addition to that trend line, I have identified two levels which I shared in my commentary this morning, and one of the levels is the 1.29150, which is the highest point price action has been for this week, as you can see. So that is our new resistant line. Then I also have a level at the 1.28950. So going into the New York and London session today, I want to see how the market will be reacting to this zone. So are we going to see a breakout of this level to the upside whereby pressure resumes? Then if it happens, we want to be joining a bullish move, after which, see, I want you to understand this very, very well. So let me replay my explanation here. So if price action, before we are going to be having a buy position here, we want to see a breakout of the structure. Then you scale down to the lower time frame. It could be your 15 minutes time frame, 10 or 5 minutes time frame, to look out for a retest of structure. It can even go to as far as the trend line. But one important pattern we want to see here are signs that sellers are finding it difficult to break down that trend line, and this would reflect on the chart as a double bottom pattern. It could be a rising wedge, whatever reversal pattern it is. Then we can join at the break at the neckline and then have a buy stop order above the 1.29150 level to maximize the potential of this move. So that is how we are going to be joining any buying opportunity above the 1.28950. So we are not having a buy stop order, but we are waiting for a breakout of that level to happen, retest of structure, then we can join that move to the upside. So that is how we are going to be managing this one right here. But for those who are already profitable on this trade, you know how we can do it here. You can of course leverage on the profit you had made so far by just having a buy stop order above the 1.28950 and then having your stop loss somewhere around here, which will be dovetailing to about 30 pips, 25 to 30 pips stop loss on that one. So let's see how price action will play out around this area. And one of the reasons why I mentioned that we should wait for a breakout retest of structure is simply because of how the market has been behaving around the zone. And coupled with the negative data from the UK economy that we saw this morning, the sharp rejection of the 1.29150 for me is a sign that sellers are coming in gradually at this point. So that is why we need to be very careful, wait for significant confirmation before joining or adding any buy position at this juncture. So with that being said here, let's talk about the potentials that the sellers have at this current market structure. You know how we do it here. We always ensure that we keep tabs with the opposite direction, as we also want to be on standby to catch that move when it happens. So now, in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunity here, we cannot ignore the potentials of sellers. And if you look at what has been going on for quite a while on the GBPUSD, you will see that price action has been finding higher highs and higher lows. And at this point in time, we might be thinking that a retracement phase may seem long overdue at this point. But if I'm going to be selling, considering the continued selling pressure between the 1.29150 and of course the 1.28950, I would rather see price break through that ascending trend line to give me a signal of getting ready to sell. So I would rather see price drop below the ascending trend line here before I can start considering selling the GBPUSD. And remember, we're not going to be getting too excited as soon as the breakdown happens, as we'll still need some confirmation before jumping into any sell position at this juncture. So what we are going to be doing is, as soon as we have a breakdown of that trend line, we scale down into our lower time frame, where we shall be looking out for confirmations like retest of either the trend line or structure. But the most importantly, we want to see signs that buyers are finding it difficult to climb above that trend line, and this will reflect on the chart as continued selling pressure below the structure, after which we can join a bearish move to the downside. And in fact, we have a couple of levels here like the 1.285, 1.28420 and the 1.28200 area, where breakdown retest of the structures will give us the opportunity to add more position to our existing trade. Now, to make things a little bit more easier for us to identify any selling opportunity if price action breaks down the trend line, I want us to identify a level that we are going to be using to guide that move. So with the current structure we have here, I have something along the 1.28750, which we shall be using as a reference point to guide any bearish move to the downside. So for the sake of clarity, let's label this one out here. So we have the 1.27850 level marked out on our charts. Give this a darker color and then place it at the bottom right hand side of the screen. Here we go. So we have a structure to work with if price action breaks down the trend line. So if it breaks down the trend line and it goes like this, then we are going to be getting ready to sell. We scale down into our lower time frame, look out for retest of structure, after which we want to be joining the bearish move, and that means the market is going to be dropping as regards to the economic indicator we saw from the United Kingdom this morning. So let's see how price action will play out from this current structure. This is how we are going to be managing our trade here. Let's see what happens. Trust me, I'm going to be with you in the comment section of both my trading view and Telegram platform to give you updates as at when due. So if you have any questions regarding the current market setup, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there is going to be any questions before I move on to the next instrument. And you can as well screenshot the screen or mark out these levels on your chart, as you would need them as a reference point to make your independent decision on your account. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I think we are good to move. I'll just take this as a confirmation that my explanations are clear and we are all on the same page. But if you still have questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. I will be checking them from time to time. So in that regard, let's move on to the next instrument on our watch list. So the next instrument on our watch list is the XAUUSD, which the XAUUSD have been quite interesting in the last 24 hours for us in this community. As you all know, we kickstarted the XAUUSD live monitoring window a couple of weeks ago, and in fact, in the last couple of weeks, we have been doing very well on the live monitoring platform. For those who don't know, we do a live monitoring every day before the start of the New York session, and I will be sharing the link in the comment section so that you can be part of the session and engage in the comment box as we continue to monitor the XAUUSD together. So yesterday's trading session was quite an interesting situation for us here. So let's quickly run through what we saw at the beginning of the week that incited the idea of us selling. Remember, we sold the XAUUSD initially yesterday. So during the live session, we initially acknowledged that price action was caught within a range, and in fact, it was a very strong bearish momentum the week started with. So we had this range here. Hold on a second. Let me extend this out a little bit. So we had the $1,928 MAC and, of course, the $1,922.50 area. And prior to the live session yesterday, we already saw signs that sellers had gradually gaining momentum as we saw the breakdown of the structure here. And during our live session yesterday, we saw how price action came back into the zone, and we have been seeing selling pressure around this area. And what I told us here yesterday is that we should have a sell stop order below the $1,922.50 level to capture any bearish move to the downside. And in fact, that was exactly what happened during the first hour of the New York session yesterday, as we took advantage of this bearish move right here, run through, and on that single move, we saw how price action moved approximately 100 pips in our favor. And remember, we also added more position to maximize the potential of that move as we saw the breakdown of the $1,119.15 level. Now, with the situation here, you know what we do here in this community. As soon as price action moves significantly well in our favor, we want to be moving our stop losses to secure the current position. And if you had done that correctly, you would have been taken out with a modest size of profit, or at a worst case scenario, break even. So well done for managing that trade very well. Now, going into the New York session today, during the our live session, of course, yesterday, we also acknowledged that the continued buy pressure. If you had followed me on my XAUUSD monitoring window, I mentioned here that the continued struggle here as sellers were finding it difficult to climb back below the structure was a sign that buyers are gradually gaining momentum. And one thing I said here yesterday is that we should have a buy stop order above the 1,925 to capture that move, and that was exactly what happened. We had a trigger during the later part of the New York session, and price struggled around our entry point before it finally gained momentum during the early hours of today, hereby triggering all our buy stop orders had the 1,928, as you can see here, and we also had the breakout of the 1,930. So at this point in time, we have a minimum of 3 positions running in profit at this point, and that will total to about, let's see how many pips that is. So for this first position, we have about 120 pips in profit. And from the second position here, we have about 80 pips in profit. And from the third position here, we have about 70 pips in profit. So we are running with over 200 pips in profit right now. And for those who took advantage of this opportunity, well done to you for being on standby to catch this move as you will currently be in profit at this point. So you know how we do it. The next thing we want to be doing right now is to secure this current buy position by moving all our stop losses and lock in the profit. Well, personally, the move after the breakout of the 1930 is still not going to be seen as a profit for me. So my stop loss is going to be just right above the 1930, as I want to be given room for price action to breed. So ensure your stop losses are moved within the zone. Let's give enough room for price action to breed around this area. Now, going into our plans for today, let's quickly run through what my commentaries were on the XAUUSD this morning. So this morning I shared a commentary on my public platform. If you are on my TradingView and Telegram platform, you would have gotten an update in that regard. As I said here that let's see what I said here. I said, since all buy stop orders have been activated, ensure all the buy positions are secured. Our focus will be on observing the price action response to the week's key level of the 1930 to determine our next course of action. Now, if we go back into the live chart, this was where price action was this morning. We saw a sharp rejection, which is a clear sign that price might likely be going to the upside. And considering the fact that price remains above our key level, remember how we trade our key levels in this community. As long as price remains above the key level, we have no other choice than to look out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of buying. And coupled with the fact that price remains above our key level is this beautiful ascending trend line I was able to identify during our live session, the XAUUSD monitoring window yesterday. So I shared this with us live, where I told us all that we are going to be using this trend line as a yardstick to guide our trading activities going forward. So as long as price remains above the structure, we shall feel confident buying and looking out for more opportunities on the XAUUSD to buy. Now, with the situation we have here and with the information we have gathered so far, how are we going to be planning today's trading activity? Well, we're already profitable, so we can afford to place some buy stop orders above any resistance level here to capitalize on this uptrend continuation. So with the situation we have here, I will be suggesting that we have a buy stop order sitting above the $1,938.50 level to capitalize on the trend continuation to the upside. Remember, this is for those who are already profitable on the XAUUSD. So if you have been part of this profitable journey so far, you can afford to have a buy stop order leveraging on the profit we had made so far this week. So we have the 1,938. So you want to mark out these levels on your chart. $1,938.50 level, as you can see here. So I'll be placing this at the top right hand side of my screen. Then we are going to be looking forward to having a buy stop order above that structure. If price action breaks out of this level, then price would have taken out all the sell positions here to give us an opportunity to buy. Now, for those who have not taking advantage of this buy position, it's okay. There is no cause for alarm. What you are going to be doing at this juncture right now is to remain very, very patient. So you know you don't have any profit to leverage on at this point. So what I will be advising us to do here is to wait for a breakout to happen. After a breakout happens, then we look for a retest of structure. Remember, this retest of structure will be observed on a much more lower time frame. So you can go down to your 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes time frame, look out for retest of structure. But the most important thing we want to see here is the fact that sellers are finding it difficult to stay below the $1,938.50 level, and this would reflect on the chart as buying pressure or a reversal pattern before we can join that bullish move to the upside. But if you're already profitable so far this week, you can have a buy stop order above that area. Let's leverage all the profit we had made so far this week, and let's capture that move all the way to the upside. So that is how I'm going to be buying the XAUUSD today. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. And in as much as we're looking out for buying opportunity here, let us just run through the expectations that the sellers have. Personally, I doubt if selling opportunities will come here today, but if it does come, we want to be on standby to catch that move. Now, what do we want to see on this chart that will make us want to sell? Well, before I can think of selling the XAUUSD today, I would rather see a breakdown of the 1,930. Remember, that is our key level for the week, and remember how important that level has been for us in the last couple of weeks. So if I zoom out a little bit here, okay, let me share with you what we saw on the 4 hours time frame so that we can have a better perspective into what is really going on in this particular market. So going into the 4 hours time frame here, remember what we saw here during the live session yesterday, where we acknowledged that we are beginning to see price action gradually transition into a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure. And this is what we saw here. So following the impulsive move into the 1,900, we saw a sharp rejection. Price came back into that 1,930, our key level for the week. We saw how price was unable to break the previous low, which is a clear sign that we might likely be seeing a reversal pattern. Then price action went up. Then you know what we did yesterday. We identified a neckline, which we said we are going to be using to confirm if this is truly going to be a reversal pattern. And the only validation we need is a breakout of that neckline. And one interesting thing about the neckline here is the fact that it also shares a confluence with that descending trend line that has been supporting the bearish momentum in the last couple of weeks here. So with the breakout of both the neckline and the trend line, we had no other choice than to look bullish on the XAUUSD. Now, let's go back into the structure. Now, you can see now we finally have a breakout of the 1,930, breaking out of the neckline. Now, with the situation we have here, there is always a chance that price could come back and retest that structure to incite a trend continuation to the upside. And now, because of the situation, because of this possibility of price action probably coming to retest that structure, I would rather see a breakdown of the 1,930 before I want to sell. Now, let me zoom in for you to see what I'm talking about here. So now, like I said earlier, there is a possibility that price goes to come back to retest the neckline, which also shares a confluence with the ascending trend line to incite a trend continuation to the upside. So that is one area we want to be looking out for buying opportunity if price action ever comes into that level. But instead of finding reversal pattern and price goes on to drop below that level, then at this point we want to start considering selling. But remember, we are not jumping into conclusions. We want to wait for confirmations to happen, such as retest of structure on our lower time frame, continued selling pressure before we join the bearish move to the downside. That is the only thing that could happen in this market that will make me want to sell the XAUUSD today. So I hope we'll be on standby to see if the market will do that, and if it does that, we want to be ready to be part of that journey to the downside. So these are my views here on the XAUUSD for today. If you have any questions whatsoever as regards to what I've just explained, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to read through the chart, see if there are any questions, and you can as well use that time to mark out these levels on your chart or screenshot my screen, as you will need them as a reference point when you're about to make your independent decisions today. So let's see what we have here. All right, so I see your comment, Emmanuel Gomesiriza. Good morning to you. Glad to have you around. You're welcome. Richard Blackhead, how are you doing today? Good morning. Okay, I saw your comment earlier. Sorry. Check your text for the 1.2875, please. Slight typo. This is for the GBPUSD. Okay, what do you mean by that? Check your text for the 1.28750 on the GBPUSD. Let me run through that quickly and see what you're trying to say there. So 1.28750. Oh, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. I understand what you are saying. Thank you very much. That was a typographical error. All right. Thank you, Richard. I really appreciate your feedback. Thanks a lot. All right. So, in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we're on the same page here. So I shall be moving on to the next instrument. All right, so the next instrument on our watch list is the USDJPY, and in fact, this is the last instrument we are going to be taking on for today. And in fact, we are quite profitable on this commodity. So let's quickly run through what we saw at the beginning of the week that made us to sell the USDJPY. Then we are going to be talking about what our plans are going to be like for today. So the first thing we saw at the beginning of the week was that price action was running bullish initially, as we saw price started from our key level for the week, which was situated at the 142.00 level, and we saw how price action climbed up into that highest point for the week here, which is at the 143.00 level, another very strong psychological level considering the round figure of that price. We saw price rejected it again to the downside, giving us a beautiful flat channel to work with. Remember, so we saw price cut within this range between the 143.00 and the 142.00 area during the early hours of the week. And in fact, this was a beautiful structure we need to guide our trading activity for the week. And you know how we do it. Whenever we have this kind of simple setup, we want to wait patiently for price action to either break out of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or break down of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. And with our orders placed at both ends, one at the resistance level and one at the support level, we had our first sell position for the week triggered at the breakdown of the 142.00 level, and since then we have been selling the USDJPY. And remember, we also had structures like the 141.00 area, which we identified yesterday too as well, that if price breaks down that structure, we want to be adding more sell position to our trade. And this morning I also identified another new one below the 140.600. So for those who are taking advantage of these buy positions, well done to you guys for being on standby to have caught this move. And you know how we do it. When price action moves significantly well in our favor, we want to be moving our stop losses to secure this current position. Of course, we don't want to lose out on whatever we had made so far. And personally, I'm thinking that around the 141.00 area, anywhere above or around it seems much appropriate to secure this current sell position, as of course we need room for price action to breach, just in case price does some retracement or spiky moves before the trend continuation to the downside happens. So with the well secured positions right now, let's see how we are going to be planning for today. And before we go into that details, let's run through what my commentaries were this morning on the USDJPY and how we intend to manage our existing position on this commodity, on this instrument, sorry. So this morning I shared here, I said we currently have two profitable sell positions, gaining around 160 pips in profit. So it's now time to secure this position, as we will be using the recently identified descending trend line as a reference point to guide our trading activities for today. So we already have a new descending trend line which we are going to be using to guide our trading activity. And as you can see, I identified another level along the 140.600, which we are going to be using to add more sell position if price action breaks down that level. So let's go back into the live chat and see what is really going on here. Now, going back into the live chat, this is what I was able to see here this morning while I was trying to decipher what the next line of action would be. So the first thing I did here was to connect a series of lower highs, which gave me this trend line that you can see here. And in fact, I had to double it, extended it out to give me the second one. So we have two trend lines we are going to be using to guide our trading activity for today. And we're also going to consider the potentials that buyers can bring price back into any of this trend line. It could be this one to incite a trend continuation to the downside, or this one right here to incite a trend continuation to the downside. So we are going to be taking all these parameters into consideration while we review this current market structure. So I will zoom in now to our center of focus for today. So our center of focus for today is basically going to be between the 141.00 and of course the 140.600 level, which will determine what the next line of action will be on this instrument. How are we going to be buying? How are we going to be selling? Whatever happens here will determine that. So is it going to turn out to be a reversal pattern that will incite a move to the upside, or is it going to turn out to be a trend continuation pattern that will incite a downtrend? Now let's dive into it. So now with the new key level we have here at the 140.600, which I shared this morning. So for those who are profitable on the USDJPY, you can definitely have your sell stop order below the 140.600, leveraging on the profits you had made so far this week to test waters around that area. And if you had done that, you will currently have your sell position triggered, running with about, it's not too much here anyways, like 6-7 pips in profit at this point. Then your stop losses will be somewhere right around that resistance line, which will be dovetailing to about 40 pips stop loss. Now, at this situation here, we just need some patience and see how price action will react to this level. So there are two possibilities that could happen here. The first one is price could come back into the structure. If continued selling pressure happens around this area, which also shares a confluence with that trend line, we could see more opportunity to sell below and join that move to the downside. Of course, I will be giving you updates on what to do when new structures evolve. Now, another thing I would like to share with you here is the importance of this trend line that we identified on the 4 hours time frame. For those who had watched my video on the USDJPY, you will be familiar with this current structure. So I shared on the 4 hours time frame. Can we look at it together so that we can be on the same page here? So let's go to the 4 hours time frame. So here we are on the 4 hours time frame, and this was what we saw on my video that I shared during the course of the weekend. And we went to as far as the month of March of this year, and we were able to spot the pivot low, connected it to give us an ascending trend line, which you can see now price action is close to that level. So this is the ascending trend line we identified here to emphasize the bullish momentum in this market. Now, if we zoom into the current structure here, you will see that price action is currently around that trend line. So anything could actually happen. So you would agree with me that we are at a critical point in the market where anything could happen from this level. We could see a situation whereby pressure resumes to incite another wave of bullish momentum. This is a possibility that could happen. And of course, we could see a situation where the trend line will be broken to the downside to incite another sell-off, probably into that 137.500. So we are at a very critical point in the market where, depending on what happens here, depending on what pattern forms or market structure evolves there, that will determine what our next line of action will be. Now, for those who have a sell position, I hope you have moved your stop losses to secure this position so that we can anticipate the next line of action. So now, considering the fact that we are on a very strong demand or on a strong ascending trend line, which we identified on the 4 hours time frame. So let's go back into the 1 hour time frame here. So now we have a sell position running below the 140.600. So we want to see how price will be reacting to the 140.350, which shares a confluence with our trend line. In fact, I want to find a confluence to work with on that trend line. So that falls around the 140.420, I think. So let's just place it right here. So 140.420 is going to be our next juncture on the market. 140.420, where are you? All right, you are right here. So we are going to be using this next zone, which also shares a confluence with that ascending trend line we identified on the higher time frame. So we have the 140.2. Is it 140.420? Am I correct? Okay, so we have that level figured out there. And then we are going to be looking forward to a breakdown retest of the structure. Please note that we need a breakdown retest of the structure before joining that move. But if you are profitable so far, you have been enjoying the bearish move we have been in since the beginning of the week, then definitely you want to have a sell stop order leveraging on the profit you had made so far to test waters around that area and capitalize on a continual downtrend. So it's very important we note that we are at a critical point in the market where price action sits above a very beautiful uptrend ascending trend line on the 4 hours time frame, and depending on what happens here will determine what our next line of action will be. So we are looking forward to further breakdown of these levels we just identified to add more sell positions to our existing trade. So we still remain very bearish on the USDJPY, so let's keep that in mind. But if at any point in time we begin to see the appearance of buy pressure, something like a reversal pattern or something, I'm going to be massively good to join a bullish move here. So let's keep this in mind. We still remain bearish unless the market structure states otherwise. So I will be giving you updates in the comment section of both my trading view and Telegram platform as we continue to monitor price action. So I want to see if there are any questions as regards to what I've just explained here. If there are, please let me know in the comment section. I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions before we draw the curtain for today. So let's see what we have here. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page here and very well equipped and prepared to take advantage of any potential move that happens during the London and the New York session today. So I wish you guys all the best of luck. And that reminds me, we are having our XAUUSD live monitoring window coming up by 11:45 a.m. UTC. That's like about 15 minutes or so before the New York session began. So we are going to be coming here on live again to monitor the XAUUSD trade and see how we can actually maximize the potential of the current position we are in right now on the XAUUSD. So I already have the link to that window in the comment section, so you can click on it. Click on the notify me button so that you can get notified as soon as I come online. So I look forward to seeing you in the comment section on that one. Let's engage together and talk about the market together, and let's enjoy the moment as we run through that trade. And for those, so on that note, I want to be calling it a day here, and sincerely I would really appreciate your support for this project. If you found the content helpful and useful in making your independent trading decision for today, I would greatly appreciate you support this video by giving it a thumbs up. Your likes are valuable to me, and it of course helps the YouTube algorithm to promote the video to a wider audience of traders who would also find this material useful to them. Please do so. I'll really appreciate. Thank you very much in advance, as I look forward to seeing your likes on the platform. Thank you very much, and I wish you best of luck during the New York session today. And I hope to see you in the comment section on both my trading view and Telegram platform as we continue to monitor price action. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. Bye-bye.